Welcome, welcome, welcome. Episode number 2, dos, as they say in Espanol. ¿Cómo estás? I'm Josh Brum. That's with 2 M's. Welcome to Beyond Emissions with 2 S's. We're excited. I have a lot of fun because at the end of the day, you might as well have fun. I've got a fun license on the wall. That's what it's all about. You've got to enjoy what you're doing. And we enjoy our mission here, our passion, our pursuit of an emissions-free world, imagining a world beyond emissions. Welcome to episode number 2. And our guest today, we're going to jump right in. By the way, if you're listening to us via our Beyond Emissions channel at YouTube, make sure you like our videos and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little reminder bell in the corner so that you can be a part of the discussion. We're looking forward to your comments as well, because this discussion doesn't just revolve around my opinion or your opinion even. We want to invite experts from around the world in different areas of, energy, zero emissions, at the end of the day, environmental impact, economic impact, national security. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's not even just the environment we're talking about. When we think about a world that is beyond emissions, that is our podcast, and I'm your host. And our first guest on the program today, a friend of the Brumster, my friend. Thank you so much for being a mentor to me all the way back when I first met you in Arizona, learning about AGM batteries, filling this young skull full of mush. On the program with us today is an engineer and my friend, Kalyan Jana. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Beyond Emissions, Kalyan.
Thank you, Josh. Glad to be here.
We share that same vision, right? I always talk about on every episode almost so far, and I feel like mentioning it again, why I have this as a mission, not just because I work in the world of energy storage and have a passion for batteries and renewable energy. I mean, that's all part of it. But the other part of it is my dad taking me camping and looking down at the nasty valley with all the smog and everything when I was a kid and saying, Josh, I wish you could do something to clean that up. You're from India, so, you've been dealing with environmental impact on your people and this world for quite a long time, as far as your feelings as well, and probably wanting to do something, and you are and have been doing something in the world of energy storage to help mitigate those issues. Talk a little bit about that and introduce yourself. Welcome to the show, Kalyan.
Glad to be here, Josh. Yes. Yeah, by training, I'm an electrical engineer, but I've been in the stored energy business for well over 25 years now. And as Josh mentioned, I was born and brought up in India. And in India, yes, we've had pollution challenges from many years ago and still continues today. But in many respects, we have a much more advanced renewable energy market. Because I still remember in my high school days, we had science projects where kids would come up with solar-powered pressure cookers. And one of the factories I worked with early in my career, the entire hot water system for the full factory was provided with by solar power. So I've been, in and around renewable energy for many, many years. And, it still amazes me that we have so much potential that's still not tapped.
Right. And technology, science, smart minds, engineers like yourself, and just people who have a passion for the future. My kids and grandkids, I want them to grow up in a world that is beyond emissions. And, thank you, oil. Thank you, all of the people from the Industrial Revolution that, brought our society to where it is today. We would not have the opportunity nor the technology, I believe, to truly build a zero emissions, beyond emissions world, if you will, without, that industrialization of our world to begin with. So I'm not trying to say, yuck, 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 I hate oil. No. Thank you, oil, but we're done. We're done. You should be a lubricant. You should be utilized to make plastics, in addition to other new technologies, and the cost of buying oil should be so cheap that You don't have a lot of it that you need to take out of the ground at the end of the day. And what I'm saying is we've moved beyond oil and we need to get to beyond emissions, but we haven't totally moved beyond it. Well, the technology that exists today, some of it in its infancy is going to get us there. Energy storage, space-based solar. Oh my gosh, I saw and posted on LinkedIn the other day. Folks, go check it out. Beyond Emissions, Kalyan Jana, my friend, engineer, joining us today. Josh Brum here. Our podcast, Beyond Emissions YouTube channel. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the reminder to be a part of the discussion. I posted Kalyan on our LinkedIn channel, Josh Brum, the Brumster. I posted on there a news story and I was amazed. Satellites up in space receiving, I've seen space solar, and I posted stories about that as well, 24/7 energy production for the whole planet. But the transmission of energy without wires, the ability to shoot it up into space like we do for our TV signals and for our phone signals and everything else that we have in the world for communications, to actually send it up into space and then distribute that energy elsewhere. So potentially out in a desert in Death Valley or whatever in California, when it's light out, renewable energy could be produced in mass, and the extra could be beamed up and be utilized, say in India or in Afghanistan or in Great Britain or Germany or wherever, when it's dark. Like there really is a possibility to bring our world together in the midst of some of the most tumultuous times that we've ever seen in world geopolitics, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we should be able to, with all of our advanced technology, be able to tap more into what nature provides for free.
When you think of what nature provides for free and you think of the technologies that you're seeing in the news, you have the same news feeds I have with the same passion. What do you think? Obviously, what does a world look like beyond emissions? Let's start there, actually. We'll get to the how we get there next. Let's start there. In your opinion, Kalyan Jana, again, engineer, expert, friend of the program, currently with the Zinc 5. We'll give a plug to Zinc 5. I love their technology. We'll talk a little bit about them towards the end of the broadcast. But in your opinion, the premise of the program is imagining, right? We have to have a dream. Like I have a dream. When Martin Luther King said, I have a dream speech, he wasn't coming to fruition at that time. I mean, people were getting dogs turned on them in the South and terrorism basically against a whole people. So the dream wasn't real at the time, but he had that dream. And even though it may never actually come totally to fruition, we have the same dream of living in a world that is beyond emissions. So down the road, we're working towards that. When that actually happens, maybe we don't get it 100%, but it's better than nothing. When that actually occurs, Kalyan, beyond emissions, what does this world look like, in your opinion?
Well, honestly, Josh, as a trained engineer, I'm basically, being skeptical is drilled into us. Engineers are inherently skeptical. So more than the dream, my concern revolves around the infrastructure that should be in place to support such a dream. Because it's good to have a dream, but to make that dream into a reality, you have to have the infrastructure that underpins it in place. So, for example, we are rushing forward with all these electric vehicles, electric cars, which is good. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's great. But the question I have at the back of my mind is, let's assume that we have, let's say, 50 million electric vehicles. That's not much. On average, 1 million vehicles per state, which is not a whole lot. But imagine a scenario where you have several millions of these plugged into the grid, thinking they're going to get cheap, power at 2 in the morning, the grid is simply not prepared to handle that kind of a load today. And because the electric grid is interconnected, you could be plugging it in your car in Texas, but the grid in Canada goes down because of the interconnectedness. So my question is, what are we doing to reinforce the infrastructure to be able to support those dreams? I mean, I'm not even thinking about dreams. I'm just trying to think about what the infrastructure should be to be able to support those dreams to make them into reality.
You hit the nail on the head, Kalyan. You hit the nail on the head. The infrastructure, although the ambitions that we have to go all electric or go zero emissions, beyond emissions per our podcast name, right? That is our dream. But if you don't put an action plan behind your dream, it's not a dream, it's a wish, right? And we're not rubbing the genie lamp and, we are going to have zero emissions. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. Hold on, let me get my magic wand. Just a second, hold on. Zero emissions. There we go. Magical. It's here. All right. No, it doesn't work that way. If you build it, they will come. No, it doesn't work that way. It's okay to have the dream, but you have to have some practical logic and planning beside that dream to make it come into realization. And you're absolutely right. Right now, right now, with the electric cars we have in California during peak usage, folks are being told, don't charge your don't plug in your electric vehicle right now because the grid is getting hit too hard, right? Like supply and demand. And at the end of the day, we want to do that, but we can't trust the monopoly, in my opinion. That is and forgive me, I'm pro-capitalism, okay? I'm a free market guy. Kalyan, I know you are too, right? We're both in business. We're not communist or nothing. But at the end of the day, there's certain things that we have decided as a people that are just too big to allow to be ran by one company. And therefore we're anti-monopolistic in nature as a nation, right? We break up companies like, back in the day, that there was just one phone company, right? Until that got broken up, and then disruption came along, and now who has a phone on the wall anymore, right? I mean, what I'm getting at is microgrids. What I'm getting at is new technology like hydrogen energy storage in different forms and different facets. The most abundant element in the universe, and through electrolysis and new technology, they've made it so it's not a requirement to have to take it out of hydrocarbons or fossil fuels. And so literally with renewables and electrolyzers, you can create the hydrogen that you need on demand. And the only emission is electricity, heat, and water. And that is amazing. And so we're there now with that opportunity to take technology like that, pairing that with energy storage, because it is going to be an all of the above thing. It's not just one or the other technology. It's going to be an all of the above technology solution. The storage needs to be dispersed evenly throughout the entire populace, so that the grid is just there and kind of playing the backup role, not the primary role. Now suddenly, using microgrids all over the United States, dispersed with this new clean technology that is abundant, clean, and inexpensive over the life expectancy of the technology itself, recyclable, right? All of those things, check. That checks all the boxes. So we need to go in that direction, right? Dispersing that amongst the population, not just in the hands of the big bad. And I won't say bad. I feel horrible, that there are some folks who are good, who work for the utilities, that if we implement this plan, may have to change jobs or go out of business. I'm sorry, but for the greater good, we need to do this. We need to make it a democratic approach to where everyone has some skin in the game, right? Having their own power stations.
Yeah, I mean, this is no different from what the economist Joseph Schumpeter said, creative destruction. So, when you have got legacy businesses, you got to uh, allow room for new technologies. It's nothing personal against anybody, but that's just the way of free market and innovation. And going back to the electric vehicle uh, scenario, one of the reasons why I'm not even considering an electric car for personal use is because until and unless we have charging stations as as available as a regular gas station, I can't even think about long distance driving without worrying about if I run out of charge, what do I do? You know, so one of the ways I think that can work is to have mobile hydrogen fuel cell generators that can go all over the country and take, sort of be a substitute for the gas stations until they become that prolific. So, that again goes back to preparing the infrastructure. If the infrastructure cannot be made robust and reliable in the short term, then by all means, let's have a mobile solution that's available today that can be, you know, uh, dispersed all across the country, and that would help. I would think that would help kickstart, the electric vehicle market. I mean, not kickstart, but at least give a little bit more momentum to it. I, for one, would be more willing to consider an electric vehicle if that were to be the case.
Could you imagine if we had to take out a loan? Because that's what we'd have to do. We don't even have enough money right. We're at $31 trillion in debt as a country. I just saw it in the news. 31 trillion. I mean, that number's, do you even know what a trillion is, people? 31 trillion. That is insanity. So, I mean, they wonder why we have inflation. These free checks that you get in the mail, they're not free, folks. You're paying for it. You're paying for every single cent of it. But the amount of cost that it would take, the loans we would have to take out that we can never pay back in order to upgrade the infrastructure right now, and the time that it would take to do so that we could meet this mandate of 100% electric vehicles by 2030 or whatever the number is. That's, first of all, that's a little bit ambitious, but I like it. They're shooting for the moon. But again, let's just say that we had all the money in the world. How much money would that cost to upgrade the grid so that we could support an all-electric economy? Insanity, right? It's not feasible. How many trillions does that look like, right?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's something that's not going to happen in the short term. And that's why in the short term, we need to look at other options. As mentioned, those mobile charging stations that can, it's a little bit like the cell phone providers when they have an area in disaster area where the cell towers are down, they deploy what are called cows, cell on wheels, cell tower on wheels. They go to those places and provide, temporary service. So similarly, we could have this mobile hydrogen fuel stations that you could take your car to and get the batteries charged, and for however long it takes till the infrastructure is brought up to speed. The last thing we would want to do is be like an army that is charging down, and supplies and logistics don't keep pace with it. And the next thing you know, the whole campaign, crashes and burns because they did not pay enough attention to the logistics to keep the army supplied and fed. We don't want that scenario. We certainly want electric vehicles, to be as prevalent as, conventional engine cars. But we have to have the infrastructure ready, and this is a workable solution right now until the complete grid has been, strengthened to handle the additional loads.
I honestly feel that if we make a transition as you're describing, where we deploy hydrogen fuel cell stations with electrolyzers, utilizing renewable energy like solar or wind or hydro around the world and dispersed evenly. Like if that happens and then you've got these charging stations attached to it, that's 100% renewable. And you're not taking anything from the grid or putting anything on the grid. They've got long lifespans, 30 plus years, 100% recyclable, the most abundant element on planet Earth. And we're not taxing the grid. Heck, in all reality, if we had that kind of approach, the grid may not even need to be upgraded if enough of these puppies are out there, right?
Yeah, and keep in mind that you also have the additional benefits, side benefits, so to speak. You'll have a whole class of new entrepreneurs who can make money of schemes like that. They would have potentially an entrepreneur could own several of those mobile charging stations and deploy it around the country as needed.
You remember when Ian, tomato, right? Kalyan Jana with us, expert and friend of our mission here, Beyond Emissions Podcast. Click the reminder bell so you can be a part of the conversation ongoing with us, and like our videos and subscribe. Ian, however it goes, right? Joshua, Kalyan, Cal, what's happening? No, I'm just kidding. Florida got nailed, right? And there was one community that was self-generating its own power through renewables, and it was the only city that did not go down for the count during that hurricane disaster, right? I mean, isn't that an example we could look at?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm talking about here, forward thinking, and you're being prepared. Keep in mind that all of the experts, those who know what they're talking about, are telling us that storms are going to get more severe, more frequent, and it is up to us. Forewarned is forearmed, and it's up to us to have the armor in place because we know that the storms are coming. And shame on us if we don't take appropriate steps to prepare for that storm when it comes. It's not if, it's when it comes.
Yep. And although it was a spiritual axiom, nevertheless, it's true in this example as well. When Jesus told his disciples that, a fool builds his house on sand, but a wise person builds their house on strong bedrock, so that when that storm comes, that house is still standing strong. And we can build our energy future on bedrock, or we can build it on sand. Which should we do, right?
Which is funny because we're digging that sand to bring up the oil.
Right. That's all. Yeah. I'm serious, man, that you're absolutely right. And that is a perfect spot to shift gears. Great segue, Kalyan. Kalyan Jana, expert in all things energy storage and of course, energy itself, renewable energy, the same passion. He's a mentor as well of mine. Josh Brum here, host of the Beyond Emissions podcast here on the Beyond Emissions YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, hit the reminder. That's a perfect segue. Let's shift gears, pardon the pun, of cars. Looking at this from a national security and an economic standpoint, I mentioned 31 trillion in debt. All countries around the world are abandoning our treasuries right now, which is what we depend on to after we dropped the gold standard in the 70s. Oil has been our gold. Saudi Arabia, ever since World War II, has helped everybody stay in the dollar trap, primarily to fund us to get rid of the Nazis and keep peace in the region since then. So it has been a two-way street in a sense, but it's getting crazy because now We've got Bin Salman from, was it Crown Prince or whatever, from Saudi Arabia, who is meeting seriously with President Xi from China. And of course, Vladimir Putin from Russia during a very tumultuous time in world history, right? And the United States is just hanging on to our reserve currency status because of this dollar trap that oil has created. By the way, only free nation in the world. So I'm not anti this trap existing necessarily. I'm fine with us being in charge from a certain standpoint. But we're now so vulnerable to OPEC more than ever before, and our currency status as the reserve currency of the world, which gives us the economic power we have, folks. That goes away. Our economic power goes in the dumpster. That's just a reality that we're not being told in the news. And it is so important that we replace that oil, because right now, all transactions up until this point through Saudi Arabia, they've only taken dollars, which forces everyone else to have to use the dollar, props us up, and gives us that status. Well, now they're meeting with China and seriously talking about taking payments in the yuan, in their currency. Once that happens, I mean, on the regular, it's just starting now, so we're not feeling the pain yet. But once that happens on the regular, oh my gosh, I mean, we need to make a transition to clean energy now. We need to get off of oil now. And if we become the leaders in clean energy, that can keep a prop, if you will, below our currency, our reserve currency status, keeping us lifted up, if you will, and propping that up. That clean energy, we can export it around the world. I mean, we can be the leaders here in something that's doing good for us and the world. And at the same time, we can put the oil barons out of business. I'm not saying that they're all bad. I'm speaking of these nations, these sovereign nations that are playing and toying with us right now. We need to do something about it. And this seems to be the only way we can do it. It's self-serving to us to go clean energy, geopolitically, national security, and economics wise. What do you think? Talk a little bit about that. Your thoughts.
Well, I mean, it's a shame that we are considered to be the technological leader. But if you look at renewable energy, we are actually behind Europe, and there's absolutely no reason why we should be. And to your point, it is a matter of national security that we not be beholden to countries that can literally hold a gun to our heads and, turn the tap on or off for the oil and make us dance to their every whim. That's simply, unsound policy. It just strikes at the heart of national security, for sure.
Yeah,
and when there are options available to us, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be exploring them and exploiting those options.
Yeah, and unfortunately, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, they all seem beholden to money.
It's a lobby. It's just a matter of lobby. If you look at it, today's laws are written not by the lawmakers. It's written by the lobbyists.
Right. In history class, we would study, this act or that act, and it would be one page, right? Now it's billions of pages. What the hell, Kalyan?
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, no matter what the industry is, the actual legislation that goes in is what the lobbyists of that particular industry dictates. Because all these politicians depend on donations from them, basically bribes. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. These are flat out bribes. And the law that finally is put in place is what the lobbyists want. Period.
Yeah, my wife and I were watching Jeopardy, and I love Jeopardy, Kalyan. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much fun just to try to play. I'm not very great at it. I always get the answer out a little bit too late, or I go, oh, I knew that. Darn it, if I had 5 more seconds. But, in the middle of the breaks of Jeopardy, going to the commercial breaks, We've got right now, different congressional races going on in California, for example. Just coming to mind, Rudy Salas and David Valadeo are facing off. So those are who we see back and forth their ads. It's pathetic, dude. It's like Rudy Salas hates his grandmother. David Valadeo, eats your kid's lunch. And, it's like, for real, Rudy Salas poops on your doorstep. David Valadeo hates you. Or, it's like, of course they don't. I'm not saying that. I'm making fun of their darn commercials that just totally, what do you stand for, you idiot? I don't care.
Right.
That, you're not telling me anything other than the other person wants to push my grandma off a cliff, which he may or may not. I don't know. But how many people are swayed by that? And at the very end, you get a cheerful little, I'm so-and-so, and I approve this message. It's like, wait a second. How do you have so-and-so as Hitler, and then at the very end, your opponent is Hitler, and at the very end, I approve this message with a smile? It's like, what the hell do you stand for? We need clean energy, and we don't just need it for climate change or our environment. We need it for national security, and we don't have games to play anymore. Beyond emissions needs to happen yesterday, man, right?
Yeah. There are so many factors that defy logic, because number one, at the end of the day, fossil fuel is a finite resource. It's going to end one day. And as far as we know, for the next 100 billion years, the sun will be shining. So you have a much more secure and guaranteed energy source than fossil fuel, which we know will end. We don't know if it's going to end in the next 10 years or 50 years or 100 years, but it's going to end a hell of a lot sooner than 100 billion years. That's for sure. Number two, this climate is changing, and you are going to be held, to ransom, because you're going to have fluctuation, because refineries are going to get torn down because of storms. You're going to have grids coming down because of storms. And, number three, your security, national security, is being held hostage by a bunch of countries thousands of miles away from here. And they are nothing but glorified gas stations. So why would you let your country be held hostage to them when you know there are options that we should be pursuing? I'm not saying that we are not pursuing it, but I don't think that we are pursuing it with the urgency that we should be.
Right. And I think that not all, I don't want to paint with a broad, stroke here with the brush, cast aspersions on everyone. There are some good actors in the mix that really do care. But at the end of the day, it's like a lot of virtue signaling. Climate change, we put green on a package and made it in China, and now we're for climate change. Yeah, but they burn fossil fuels to make that happen, or they mine it in an irresponsible manner. Just because it's out of sight, and out of mind, that doesn't make you a green candidate suddenly. It's almost like they're, and I'm saying on both sides of the fence, you have folks that defend oil and want to open up every spigot in the United States, and that's going to change everything. It's like, no. I'm not demonizing oil either. Can I give my plan real quick? I told my wife this morning, and she is a smart lady, but I kind of glossed over because I'm talking to an engineer now, so I want to hear your opinion on this. What if, because it's an all of the above approach, really, right? What if, I like that, beyond emissions, that's the whole premise of the show. We're doing a big, huge what if on this podcast, right? Beyond Emissions YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, hit the reminder. Kalyan, Jana with us today. My plan would be this, Kalyan. What if for national security reasons, because if we just pump a bunch of oil here in the United States, it lowers the overall cost for us on the international market. We become an exporter like we were 4 or 5 years ago, and we have low prices. That's not bad, but it's still a short-term Band-Aid. At the end of the day, the Sauds and Chinese eventually they're going to have us over a barrel if we don't do something about it. But like you said, we're not going to get off of oil in 2 weeks. So what if this strategy came into effect for national security reasons? We said, open up the spigots in the United States for the next 20 years, pump as much as you can, sell as much as you can, but only on the U.S. market or to U.S. and U.S. allies, right? We'll call it the Freedom Plan. So every single country that is a real ally of the United States can take a part of it, say the G7, for example. If you're a real ally of the United States, you can take part in this. Or maybe we just make it only within our borders, what have you. I would say we allow for the pumping of oil, and we incentivize it in a safe, economic and also environmentally safe manner. It can be done, folks. Don't freak out, all right? But just imagine we allow for that in the United States. But the rule is that all oil produced in the United States under this incentive plan can only be refined and sold to customers in the United States, and there's an export ban. In my opinion, if that happened, it would shock the whole world, because our supply would be plentiful, believe it or not, because we have more than enough. Most people don't realize that. So we in the short term, we would have less of a shock to our businesses while they're transitioning. At the same time, we would not be giving these dictators the benefits of stabilizing their markets, because even though the prices go down, there's more transactions going on. Therefore, they actually benefit from us doing that if we export it everywhere. We're stabilizing these markets for dictators like Putin. That's not good. And so in the short term, we nationalize basically the oil industry in a sense. And then we get to work on the plan of 30, 40 years down the road of working on this infrastructure to make this transition happen. Am I short-sighted in that, or should we do something else? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said in favor of what you just mentioned, Josh. But the one thing that has always baffled me is that we as an industrialized nation, have not recognized, the place of natural gas. There is no shortage of natural gas. In fact, we burn away a lot of natural gas that we cannot handle. So if we made a concerted effort to switch more and more applications to natural gas, that would wean us off, the liquid gas that we look for, the gasoline and diesel and all that. And to give you an example, today in the city of Mumbai, and this has been for the past, maybe 15, 20 years, every single taxi is powered by natural gas. You cannot have an internal combustion gas engine in a taxi, period. And that's because natural gas is also much cleaner burning, less pollution, and it is way more available than liquid, fossil fuel. So that's another step that we should be looking at more seriously, with more applications being converted to natural gas from fuel.
Oh, you nailed it, because refining is one of the big cost factors. I mean, they change refineries to a different blend in California. We see a $2 jump per gallon,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you cut that out of the mix as well, and now the cost goes down even further, right?
Yeah. I mean, you look at any gas station, refining plant, you'll see these flares going on. Why? Because they're burning up the gas that they can't handle. They can't store and keep. So why are we burning it away? I mean, why couldn't we? Surely there are enough brilliant minds in this country that can use that, for productive purpose than just burning it up.
Yep. And that is a beautiful bridge, and it's realistic. I used to work for a battery company where I go out and see customers and farming customers, stuff like that. And I walked into the shop one day, and Maxco was the name of the company. Shout out to Ben and Jerry. Not the ice cream. That really is their name, man. Ben and Jerry at Maxco. They build boxes for fruit packing and stuff like that out of Reedley, California, United States of America. Amazing gentlemen. Really loved working with those folks. Anyway, I'd walk into Maxco, into their shop, and Ben's down there doing something, and Jerry walks over and he goes, "You know what he's doing right now?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "You see that tank on the back of the truck right there? That small tank? That little tank right there?" "Yeah." He goes, he's actually, Ben is down there. He called him Benny, actually. He had cancer, Jerry did, and he was fighting it, had throat cancer, so it was hard for him to talk. And he goes, "Yeah, Benny down there, he's transitioning this old truck." It was like a truck from the 60s, a Chevrolet pickup. He was transitioning it to run off of natural gas, man. So like this is like you can transition existing ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine gas vehicles.
Yeah.
They can be transitioned. So this is actually something that's an affordable move as well, huh?
Yep. As I said, 100% of Mumbai's fleet of taxis, the whole city's taxis, is 100% natural gas. And it's been that way for many, many years now. At least 15 years, if not more.
So we can kind of have the best of both worlds. We can still have the power, right?
Yep. All you need is for something to take you from place A to place B. You're not looking to do a NASCAR race or anything like that, just for mobility, basic, simple mobility. And natural gas has enough, energy density to help you do that.
Yep. There's more than enough of it. Like Kalyan Jana, our guest today, Beyond Emissions, that is our mission. It's very low emissions, very clean burning natural gas. What a great bridge to get us there, man. That's a great point.
Yep.
I personally am not afraid of looking down this path and realizing there's going to be some tough times for us all, possibly. There may be some growing pains here or there. But whenever you change something for the good, there's always some pain. That pain is always worth it. Right. Could you imagine back during the Industrial Revolution when the steam engine is getting going, or hydropower for factories, or you name it, the internal combustion engine comes around, or people are burning coal, or whatever it might be. Could you imagine the lobby going to Congress and writing the laws, and it's like the horseshoe lobby, the blacksmiths of America lobby are in there writing our new energy laws. I mean, that's kind of what we've had going on in America for how many decades now?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's also one of the reasons why public transportation is in such shambles in this country.
Well, I'll throw a little nugget in there just to play devil's advocate on that. Part of that also in this country is because of our culture, our car culture. We love getting in the car and going wherever we want, when we want. And the clean energy that we're talking about, starting with natural gas and then eventually, like we're talking about these hydrogen energy storage stations and production stations that can be dispersed everywhere, not wrecking the grid, but offering the power to electrify our economy today in the short term and in the long term. I mean, these are all amazing technologies. We can do this. This is actually realistic. And at the end of the day, we don't need the oil companies in there writing these laws. Again, I'm not saying this from a political bent. I'm a capitalist. I'm pro-free market. And we don't have to, change a whole lot as far as the power that our economy needs. That's the number one complaint I hear from the folks out there that just don't get it. they have a bad time with the grid because of some renewable intermittency during a freeze out in Texas, and now everyone's on the internet. See. It's like, wait, do you hear yourself? Yes, it's not ready yet. We get it. But that doesn't mean that we just go back to the blacksmith and get the horse and buggy out, right?
Yep, that's right. I mean, it's we have to adapt to what we've got, and as I said, prepare for the storm. To me, several years ago, I used to go to Stockholm in Sweden several times a year, and from the airport to the city is about roughly a 40-minute train ride. That whole line is powered 100% by solar energy, and it's a high-speed train. You can see the speed flashing on a display in every compartment, and we were doing average about 100, 105, 110 miles per hour, and the whole line is everything, lighting, propulsion, everything is powered by solar energy. And I was sitting there thinking, why the hell can't we do that in the U.S.?
Because of greed, and that's on both sides of the aisle. My God. In California, I remember 15 years ago, I voted for the proposition to build the high-speed train, and as did a majority of Californians, because we've seen other countries that have their act together do it and do it with ease. So why couldn't the few billion that needed to be raised to make this happen? Why couldn't it happen? Hello, we're California, man. And now, like, I'm here in Central California driving by these giant cement pylons with one schmo out there smoking a cigarette. Like, for 15 years later, we should have had 10 trains for the money we've spent and the debt we've gone into for that. And I don't care what political bent you are. That is crap. That's embarrassing, man. And that's what you're staring at in the face when you're on that ride in Sweden, right? It's like, what is wrong with us, right?
Yeah. And that's why I keep going back and saying we are so far behind Europe in exploiting renewable energy. It's not even funny. It's shameful.
And it is my mission, Kalyan, going all the way back from when I was a kid and my dad looked down at the valley in Central California with the smog all over it, saying, I want you to clean that up someday. It'd be my dream. It's become my dream. It is my dream now. I want to make this happen. I want to be a part of this energy revolution, right?
Yep.
The excitement that you feel when you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And especially when you look, just like anything in life, right? When we make a goal, if it's a big goal, but it's still realistic, even though it's maybe pie in the sky a little, you still look at it and say, it still could be done though. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. But when you're a part of a mission like that, something bigger than yourself, something happens inside of you. You have a purpose. And that is our purpose.
Yeah, every project, no matter how small or big, always starts with a baby step, right? And if you don't take the baby step, then you might as well forget it.
I love it. Bill Murray, man. What about Bob? Baby steps to electrification, baby steps to hydrogen fuel cell centers, baby steps to infrastructure upgrade, baby steps to get the politicians out of office that haven't been able to build a clean bullet train for 15 years with billions of dollars. Fire those bums, man. How do they keep getting reelected? Either it's a sham. I don't care what side you're on. If you're a Republican or a Democrat, stop wasting our money and get on it is how I feel, man. Baby steps. Do we have to hold their hand in addition to reelecting them too? No, we're hiring you to do a job. Go get it done, man. You already took our money. We already paid for it. I don't know what you did with that money, right?
Yeah. In the meantime, they're pocketing more money from the lobbyists.
Right.
So that's what they're doing.
So they can,
as soon as they get elected into office, guess what their task is on day one in their office? How do I get reelected?
Right. And of course, going back to these horrible, re-election ads that I see on TV, where they just
Yeah.
call each other Hitler back and forth. And at the very end, I approve this message with me and my family by a orange grove or almond grove. We're all dressed up for church. After you just got done accusing someone of being like a murderer that hates people. Like, what do you stand
No,
for?
nobody wants to say, here's what I've done in the past, over the past X years that I've been in office. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, boom, boom. Instead of that, all they're saying is, all the negative ads. I mean, I've not seen a single political ad where the candidate stands up and says, when you elected me into this office to do a job, here's what I accomplished and here's what I hope to accomplish if you give me my votes. Give me your votes to continue staying in the office. Wouldn't that be a refreshing change?
Right. And in order to get there, we need critical mass. We need to get more people thinking about this in the right way and not just following along with the ads like zombies, right? Because they feel like they control us, but they really don't. They only control us because we've given them the key to the cell. Every time we keep re-electing them, like, well, I have just these two to choose from, right? Like,
Yeah,
they're
because
both...
they really are not afraid of the voting, the electorate. I mean, what they're doing from day one is trying to appease whatever lobby is in his or her face.
Right. So we need critical mass. And I think that's what we're doing today. We're educating you, the listener. Thanks for joining us. Join the conversation. Like and subscribe our channel. Hit the reminder to join our conversation. Beyond Emissions is our mission. That is what we're doing. But we're educating you about what's going on and what needs to happen to actually accomplish it. Unlike the politicians that just promise it like it's magic and they're Santa Claus. Hold on just a second. Here you go. All right, an emissions-free future because I just signed a piece of paper. What? No, yes, we need to get there, but we need to stop being foolish about it. And so education to the masses so that we can reach that. Critical mass is basically when enough people think the same thing that it pours over to the other side, and now everyone has to get on board. Like slavery. At one time we had slavery, and then enough critical mass, and we had a civil war, but enough critical mass, brought people to kill more Americans. More Americans died collectively on both sides during the Civil War than all other wars that Americans have been involved in as far as American deaths. And that kind of sacrifice to change our country and sacrifices of other people that have continued that dream afterwards. Martin Luther King Jr. comes to mind. His own life he gave so that we could have this dream. A critical mass is when enough people finally believe the same thing that all the other a-holes on the other side can't do anything about it, and they just have to deal with it. They can't fight it. And that's what we need. And that's what this show's all about, to provide the education, the facts. And that's why we have experts on like you, Kalyan, so we could share the facts and these perspectives to get that critical mass to the other side, because right now we're in such a quagmire and we need to move forward, right?
Yep. I mean, again, we have to take the steps to get the thing started. It's not going to happen overnight, but if we don't take those baby steps, it's not going to happen. It's a little bit like playing the lottery. Yes, your chance of winning the jackpot is very small, but it's still not zero. It's only zero if you don't buy the ticket. So unless you take the first step, baby step, or that project is never going to happen.
I love it. We'll end there, man. And I'm going to have you back, if you don't mind, joining me on a future program, Kalyan Jana. Baby steps to beyond emissions. That's awesome. Like, what about Bob style? I love it. I just saw that the other day and just laughed my butt off, even though I've seen it a million times. Baby steps to the door, baby steps to the elevator. I mean, that's what we got to do, right? Baby steps. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Kalyan Jana, got a minute left before we end the program. Beyond Emissions is our mission, and we share the same passion. Thank you for being here. I always love having people like you on the program that are smarter than me. That's what I do, folks. I might have some knowledge, but I only know what I know because of mentors like Kalyan, Jeremy Cordray on a previous program. I like surrounding myself with people that are smarter than I am. And thank you for allowing me to be your friend. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it.
Please let our listeners know. I know that you currently work in energy storage and batteries, primarily in the data centers, Facebook, LinkedIn, all this stuff that we're all, by the way, go to Josh Brumster LinkedIn page and connect and follow us. All these different social media platforms that we're using, like on the daily, on the regular, they're all backed up by energy storage. You work for a company that is phenomenal at that with the technology that is also phenomenal at Zinc 5. Tell our listeners real quick before we go.
Yeah, it's a company called Zinc 5 and we make nickel zinc batteries for data center applications. And the good thing about this battery is, number one, it's rechargeable and it uses only nickel and zinc, which are widely available. We don't have to depend on any country for supply. There's no supply chain issues. It has been proven that it has no thermal runaway. So it's a very, very safe battery. You can install it in, unlike lithium ion, there is no chance of any thermal runaway. And, we are having a lot of success with backing up, megawatt scale UPS data center UPS systems. So we are just banging along. And business is good, and people are starting to realize that, this is a very viable solution, stored energy solution that's, available from, we don't have to be beholden to lithium supply chain issues from anywhere in the world. I mean, we don't have any supply chain issues, so it's a tremendous technology. It's fairly old. It was invented by Thomas Edison many, many years ago. But at that time, the technology just wasn't there to make it into a long life battery. But Zinc 5 has over 90 patents that revolve around the battery separators and the electrolyte formulation. And because of that, it's a battery it's basically a 15-year battery, and we give a full 10-year warranty. So it's an incredible technology, and right now we have more orders than we can handle, quite frankly.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That is such great news, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. Zinc 5 listeners, Kalyan Jana, you can look him up on LinkedIn. He's a friend of ours. He's going to come back on the program. Thank you so much. Baby Steps to Beyond Emissions. That'll be my next book. I love it. Oh, I appreciate you, Kalyan. God bless you, sir. Hang on the line for our engineers, and thanks for joining us in our mission of Beyond Emissions.
Thank you, Josh. Glad to get the opportunity.
Beyond Emissions, it is our mission, a pursuit of an emissions-free world. Want to be a part of it? Join the show. Welcome to the podcast every single week right here. Beyond Emissions podcast at the Beyond Emissions channel at YouTube. Like our videos, subscribe, hit the reminder as well so you can be a part of the ongoing conversation that we're having here. Baby steps to Beyond Emissions. What's standing in the way? What do we need to do to get there? It's our future. It's our together. We got to make it happen. We got to make it happen now, ASAP, right? Beyond Emissions podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Brum, your host, and until next time, we know what it's like to live in a world beyond emissions. It's right here in our hearts and in our minds. But pretty soon, it's going to be in a reality. Beyond Emissions podcast.